welcome to the COP26 side event, Law to Develop Net Zero Society. My name is Hiroyuki Isano, professor of the University of Tokyo. I work today as a moderator of this session. This side event is organized by NIKKEI Net Zero project launched last April this year. The project is participated by 50 Japanese companies on a broad range of business sectors, from utility companies to building and construction companies and financial institutions. In addition, 9 experts and the relevant field actually attended that project. I think the Mr. Ando and also Yoshitaka in the first line is also a member of this committee. So 3 youth organizations, Youth EcoNet, Climate Youth Japan, and Fridays for Future also invited for discussion. As we stated in the declaration published in Nikkei and also Financial Times, our company and experts participating in the project are determined to accelerate climate actions for 2030, aiming to net zero by 2050 in order to limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees above the industrial level, and also it is correspond to the net zero by 2050 announced by the Japanese government. So, if I may, Japanese companies and its executive officers seem to be that quite modest. So while they do a lot of things, a lot of activity, but they do not often talk explicitly to the public. So in this sense, today's side event should be an exceptional opportunity. Top business leaders of Japanese companies directly address to the audience in Japan and also worldwide. Their determination, vision and strategies, and commitment and contribution toward net zero society. To start with, so it is a great honor of me to introduce a video message from our Minister of Environment, Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, for the event.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, Minister for the Environment of Japan. Thank you very much for inviting me to this privileged side event, a road to develop a net zero society, presented by the Nikkei Net Zero project. Please forgive me that I'm not yet with you, and I'm coming to Glasgow tomorrow. So please let me say hello with a video message. First, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Nikkei Incorporated and members of the Nikkei Carbon Zero project, including today's speakers, for holding this precious event. I am certain that this seminar provides us with a various opportunity to share the fruitful and inspiring output of the Nikkei Carbon Zero project, which includes awards, financial supports, and intensive advertisement of actions toward net zero taken by stakeholders, including various companies, educational institutions, and NPOs. The climate crisis is an existential challenge to human beings, and we are the only generation that can stop it. The whole world is now moving with a great momentum toward net zero to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius target of the Paris Agreement. Japan has determined to aim for 46% reduction in fiscal year 2030, which is aligned with the long-term goal of achieving net zero by 2050, and will further try to attain the loftier goal of 50%. In order to achieve this target, we believe that initiatives on the part of stakeholders in every sector is critical. Reaching net zero is a formidable challenge for everyone. I would like to underscore, however, that climate actions do not necessarily work negatively on economic growth. Rather, these measures could be the keys to transforming the industrial structure and producing robust growth by dramatically changing our society and economy, promoting innovative investment and enhancing productivity. In this context, it is very encouraging to see business leaders and experts joining this event. Your presence is highly appreciated because it conveys a key, strong message that business is now turning quickly toward net zero. The Nikkei project is very influential, and I firmly believe that more people will understand that we must act now and that we can do it. Lastly, congratulations again for holding this side event. I sincerely wish for the success of the project. Let us go forward together on the road to net zero. Thank you very much. I'll be joining you soon in Glasgow.
So thank you, Minister of Environment for his message, which actually encouraged us a lot. Thank you. So just to announce the logistical, the instruction, we provide the simultaneous translation and interpretation of the English and Japanese so that you can make a choice or select the button, usually on the bottom of the window or the Zoom, you have a chance to select one of each. So now we move on to the first part of the event, related by CEO and top business leaders. Now we have 8 business leaders directly speak to the audience. For this part, Kiyoshi Ando, editorial writer of Nikkei, now join us as another moderator here. So thank you very much for coming to join us.
Thanks for the introduction. I look forward to taking part in this event.
Thank you. So he's an expert writer of the especially climate change and energy field. So now, as the first speaker, I'd like to invite Mr. Takashi Ninami, CEO of Suntory Holdings. Suntory Group is, as you know, the global leader in consumer packaged goods and producing and distributing a uniquely diverse portfolio of beverages. So, Mr. Ninami, you have the floor, please.
So let me start by quickly introducing Suntory, who we are. Suntory is a global leading beverage company founded more than 120 years ago in Japan. We offer a wide range of products, including spirits, like our whiskeys, Hibiki Yamazaki, which are so famous now in the world. Wine, beer, soft drinks, like Orangina and Ribena in Europe, and the nutritional products. I'd like to take this opportunity today to talk about the importance of Asian leadership in achieving net zero by 2050 globally. As you know, Asia, including China and India, is the world's largest greenhouse gas emitter. It also should be noted that Asia is at the center of the global supply chain. In other words, Asia is at the center of the problem. The world cannot achieve climate goals without the quick and effective action of Asian countries. So how can we make Asia the center of a solution? This is so critical. But the reality of Asia makes collective action very complicated. Asia consists of many countries in differing states of economic development, especially now with the countries will battling COVID-19. Economic recovery is the most imminent task. So focusing on long-term sustainability in Asia is not easy for countries and companies in Asia. However, I believe that the Asian countries should be highly concerned about the current situation where developed nations, including the United States and the EU, are leading the rulemaking like taxonomy. Asia needs to get more involved in these discussions, or else the rules will be set without the consideration of the reality of Asia. As a result, Asian countries will not be able to act on those rules and be left out of the global initiative that follow. We have to avoid the creation of a sustainability divide between Asia and the world. Just to take a look at the renewable energy, for example, it is mentioned frequently as a key factor. But considering the geography and the rainy climate of Asia, conventional renewables like solar or wind power is not a solid solution for Asia. We need a great variety of technology like hydrogen, geothermal, and perhaps nuclear. This is a kind of a unique Asia perspective that is needed in order to find the realistic and effective solutions. As a Suntory, we have set the goal to achieve net zero by 2050, but 2050 is too remote and lacks the sense of urgency. That's why it's so important that we also set ambitious goals for 2030 and progress toward achievement, step by step. We don't want to be accused of greenwashing, so it's also essential to be transparent, to also ensure that the progress is evaluated by third parties so that we can review what we are doing right or wrong and promptly adjust our action as necessary. This will eventually lead to gaining confidence from society. Having said that, frankly speaking, even achieving our goal, 2030 goal, is not easy. Suntory has set the goal to reduce scope 1 and 2 emissions by 50% and 30% across the value chain by 2030. In particular, reduction of scope 3 emissions is challenging because we cannot address this without the engagement of our supply chain partners. These partners are often SMEs that lack the necessary resources like finance and know-how. So how should we engage them? I strongly believe that governments and big companies should work together to provide the necessary resources and make a concerted effort to achieve 2030 goals. No company can be left behind in realizing significant progress. This is an essential principle of the SDGs. The entire value chain has to collaborate to determine how existing gaps can be filled by working together. Again, in order to achieve net zero by 2050, the solutions we seek must reflect the reality of Asia. In this context, we launched the Sustainability Leaders Council this year with the Eurasia Group led by Ian Bremer. Our purpose is to bring together key players to have such a real discussions that can lead to actionable solutions. We invite our other like-minded companies and leaders to join us in these action-oriented discussions. Through such collaborative efforts, starting in Asia, I believe that we can truly create a world where people can coexist with nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ninami. A wonderful presentation, speech. And next speaker, Toshihiko Mitsuyoshi, President of Sumitomo Forestry. As you know, that Sumitomo Forestry is a comprehensive housing and wood product corporation. So the President Mitsuyoshi, you have the floor, please.
Good morning, Professor Takamura. My name is Toshiro Mitsuyoshi, President of Sumitomo Forestry. Our history goes back to 1691, when the Sumitomo family started copper mining forest management to supply wood fuel and pit props for the mining operation in Besshi, Shikoku. We've been conducting our business guided by the Sumitomo business spirit, which places prime importance on fairness and integrity for the good of society and solving the societal issues of the times. Wood is one of the few renewable natural resources, and I will explain how forest, timber, and wooden construction absorb, store, and reduce CO2 emissions to help achieve a decarbonized society. The global GHG emission in 2019 were 33.5 billion tons. The construction sector accounted for 38% of that total, of which approximately 70% was operational carbon and 30% was embodied carbon. While operational carbon can be reduced by promoting zero energy houses and buildings, embodied carbon can be significantly reduced by wood building, which have much lower emissions and environmental burden than steel or reinforced concrete structures. The carbon stock effect of timber used in the buildings is recognized in the Paris Agreement as harvested wood products, HWP, which means that in addition to reducing embodied carbon, wood construction significantly contributes to carbon sequestration and reduction. Japan's forestry agency has recently set guidelines for calculating and disclosing carbon storage amounts in the wood products used in the construction. This slide shows the carbon cycle of our operations. We own and manage approximately 280,000 hectares of forests. The net CO2 absorption of these forests is 780,000 tons every year, for a cumulative total of about 65 million tons of carbon storage. We have built over 400,000 wooden houses. These wooden houses are considered HWP, which act as a carbon sink, like converting cities into forests. Our biomass power plants also play an important role in our carbon cycle. Since 2010, we have been engaged in both environmental conservation and forestry of 150,000 hectares of peatland in Indonesia's West Kalimantan province. Given the sensitivity of the peatland and the compatibility between environmental conservation and economic viability, we utilize less than 20% of the area as productive forest and manage the rest as conservation forest to protect biodiversity and the water environment. By maintaining appropriate water levels of the peatlands, which account for most of the forest land and play a significant role in carbon sequestration, we have been able to suppress CO2 emissions from slash and burn farming and forest fires. This year, we joined forces with IHI to launch initiatives that utilize our ground survey data, IHI satellite data, and climate observation and weather forecasting technologies. We are striving to measure carbon storage of our forests accurately through this project and hope to contribute to promoting the creation of high-quality carbon credit. These exhibitions are at the Japan Pavilion. Now, I'd like to talk about non-residential wooden buildings. In March, we delivered a 3-story all-timber music hall in Tokyo. Compared to steel or reinforced concrete structures, this all-timber construction reduces embodied carbon by more than 20%. We used approximately 930 cubic meters of wood with 746 tons of carbon storage, which can be counted as HWP. In Melbourne, Australia, construction of a 15-story net zero carbon office building will begin next month. The first 5 floors will be reinforced concrete, and the remaining floors up to the 15th floor will be mass timber construction. The building has both energy conservation and energy creation specifications. with the offset of renewable energies and carbon credit, the building's operational carbon from emissions during occupancy will be net zero. The approximately 4,000 cubic meters of wood used for the structural framework account for about 3,000 tons of carbon storage as HWP. Including this amount, the wooden office building reduces embodied carbon by about 40% compared to constructing with reinforced concrete. By protecting conservation forests, we create many types of environmental value, such as CO2 absorption and sequestration, biodiversity protection, and water conservation. As for productive forests, together with local forest owners, we are working to rationalize forest management for more stable log supply, which helps domestic timber industries and wooden construction become more competitive. By building a cycle of planting, growing, harvesting, utilizing, and then replanting, we believe that we can create a circular bioeconomy. In other words, make circular forest management economically viable, which will contribute to realizing decarbonized society. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The question to Mr. Mitsuyoshi. So you mentioned that the carbon sequestration is quite important for the role of the forest. So is there any the actual inquiry from your client about the carbon credit from the activity, afforestation activity and the forest management activities? That is my question.
Okay, thank you for your question, Professor Takamura. Actually, we have been approached by numerous companies. They are not our client yet, but such as those companies are steel companies and airline companies and shipping companies. I think while those companies are talking with they are actively promoting technological innovations to reduce CO2 emissions, but they still need some carbon credit to offset the extra emission they have to reduce. So I think we can probably be we can provide them with some support by way of creating forest-derived carbon credit.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Shigeru Kobayashi, President of NGK Insulators. NGK Insulators and manufactured and sold electric insulators and the industrial ceramic product and the environmental system electric parts. Maybe you might be familiar with NAS batteries. So you have the floor, Mr. Kobayashi.
Thank you for your kind introduction, Professor Takamura. I'm Shigeru Kobayashi, President of NGK Insulators. Today, I would like to introduce how our company is working on transforming energy storage and the industrial process toward carbon neutrality. NGK Insulators is a leading company in the field of ceramics. Since its foundation in 1919, NGK has been solving social issues around the world through ceramic technology by supplying innovative products for the energy infrastructure, automotive, and semiconductor industries. Our unique ceramic technology plays an important role in realizing a sustainable society. We strongly believe that for a carbon neutral society, various actors have to show their strengths. In particular, industries need to transform their energy supply and the process technologies. We, NGK, keep asking ourselves, how can we solve these issues to achieve carbon neutrality by using our ceramic technology? We try to answer this question by developing products to support industries in transforming energy storage and process technology. To realize carbon neutrality, we are enhancing technology development. As part of NGK Group Environment Vision, we will actively invest in R&D over the next 10 years, with 80% of this investment allocated to carbon neutrality and digital society. As a result, we aim to achieve 80% of sales through these businesses by 2050. We are ready to provide solutions to support industry to go carbon neutral. The discussion of long-duration energy storage is heating up in many developed countries in terms of penetration of renewable energy. Environmental challenges are driving policymakers toward a rule-making phase, and this proactive stance toward a carbon-neutral society has been accelerated by the recent threat of climate change all over the world. For the realization of a carbon-neutral society, storage batteries should provide great contributions as an indispensable technology for various solutions. These solutions go beyond existing energy system and include a stable power supply and effective utilization of renewable energy. By combining renewable energy and NAS batteries, we can offer solutions to realize a carbon-neutral society. For instance, NAS battery can be a part of green hydrogen facilities that operate continuously 24 hours a day without emitting CO2. I'm quite confident that we can achieve those with our sodium sulfur battery, the NAS batteries. Needless to say, NAS batteries are just one step toward realizing a carbon neutral society. Our technology is also expected to play a key role in a carbon capture, utilization, and storage cycle. We have developed the world's largest ceramic membrane capable of separating carbon dioxide using its unique sub-nanometer size pore control technology. In the near future, there are hopes that our ceramic membrane could be used to directly capture carbon dioxide from the ambient air. Our separation membrane technology realizes an innovative CO2 separation process for energy efficiency and conservation. For example, our CO2 separation membrane is a promising technology that can finally separate carbon dioxide and methane even in harsh environments, which cannot be handled with pre-existing technology. Using this technology, we are currently conducting verification tests for EOR to separate and capture CO2 in Texas, United States, in collaboration with JGC Holding Corporation and JOGMEC. Together for the planet, collaborating to achieve our common goal will be the key to tackle climate change. We believe that NGK is ready to deliver products for energy supply and carbon neutral industrial processes, no matter if the future primary energy source is hydrogen, methane, methanol, e-fuel, or any other alternative. As a ceramics specialist, NGK would like to become a solution partner for companies and organizations so that we can aim to achieve carbon neutrality together. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. I expect that Ando-san have a quick comment or question to the.
Yeah, thanks for detailing your business activities. Just one question. The material manufacturing is certainly a very important sector in Japan, but as manufacturing sector as a whole, what is the most important thing? What are the issues to accelerate carbon neutrality?
In our industry, it is a fact that carbon dioxide emissions are unavoidable in the process of manufacturing ceramics. However, we have always tried to reduce energy consumption. That is why we will continue to take on the challenge of large-scale transformation and prove the effectiveness of carbon capture, utilization, and storage cycle technology. Based on the concept of our planet, we would like to propose our technology from Japan to the global industry and hope that we can each bring our specialty and develop better solutions together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kobayashi. And then I think that the technology will contribute to much the decarbonization, not only in Japan and other countries, for instance, in Asia. Thank you very much indeed. So now I'd like to invite the next speaker, Hisahide Okuda, Corporate Vice President, Director of JERA. You know that JERA is the largest power generator utility company in Japan and supplying about, if I'm not mistaken, 30% of power generated in Japan. So Okuda-san, Mr. Okuda, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Takamura Sensei, and hello, everyone. I thank you very much again for giving me a good opportunity to show you JERA's decarbonization strategy. My name is Hisahide Okuda. I'm leading corporate strategy department of JERA as corporate vice president. So first, let me introduce JERA very quickly. JERA's business covers entire value chain from upstream to downstream. We are the largest power generation company in Japan, generating around 30% of Japan's electricity. Our energy transaction volume is 40 MTPA, one of the largest in the world. Here are our assets overseas. We have power generation assets mainly in Asia and North America, and LNG upstream assets mainly in Australia. We are now very eager to increase renewable power assets in Asia. That's a quick look at JERA. And next, I'd like to explain our decarbonization strategy. We announced our decarbonization strategy named JERA Zero CO2 Emissions 2050 last year. There are 3 key points in our strategy. The first key point is to build complementarity between renewable energy and zero CO2 emission thermal power generation. Zero CO2 emission thermal power means we change fuel for thermal power to green fuel, such as ammonia or hydrogen. We believe by taking it will be able to achieve zero CO2 emissions faster and more economically in some countries. This is the first point. The second point is we will make roadmaps suitable for each country and region. The speed of economic growth, geographical conditions, and the presence of energy infrastructure are different from country. Therefore, we think the roadmap for carbon neutral society should be various. And we would like to propose the best combination scenario of renewable power and zero CO2 emission thermal power for each country. The third point and the last point is smart transition. Smart transition here we mean is to do what we can do now by using available technologies now. And maybe in 5 years, new technology will emerge then do what we can do by using them. Such step-by-step approach will be needed to decrease CO2 emissions steadily all over the world. That's all about our decarbonization policy. And lastly, I like to add something about the role of JERA in the future carbon neutral society. I believe the centralization of energy system will progress and energy independent local communities will increase. But it will not be so easy for some big cities to be energy independent, and not so easy for huge heat demand in industrial areas to be supplied only by renewable energy. So JERA will solve these problems by using various resources. We will supply big cities with zero carbon electricity by using our large-scale renewable power and zero CO2 emission thermal power. And we will supply ammonia or hydrogen to industrial areas. In addition, we will supply system services to TSO in order to balance demand and supply of power for all Japan. That will be JERA's role in the future carbon neutral society. I'd like to conclude my message here. So thank you very much indeed.
So thank you, Okuda-san, for the wonderful presentation to show the overview and vision and also roadmap toward the net zero. So I have a very quick question too. You seek and the expansion of renewable. At the same time, you also try to realize the, complemented by the ammonia and the hydrogen generation. So it seems that there are quite many, utility company and power generators aim to realize 100% of renewable. But why the JERA is put a focus on at the same time the ammonia and hydrogen generation, and it is considered as a bridging technology for the future? That's my questions.
Thank you, Takamura Sensei. It's a very, very good question. So at first, I have to say, we don't intend to deny renewable 100% approach. If it's possible, it's the best scenario. So, but what we'd like to suggest is it would be better to prepare many various options for decarbonization. So there are some countries where it's not so easy to increase renewable energy, mainly for geographical reasons. So for them, zero emission power generation using ammonia or hydrogen can be an option. So there are two good points in zero CO2 emission thermal power. The first point is we can make the most of existing assets. So I mean the existing transmission lines as well as existing power plants. So the modification of existing power plant is very small for co-firing of ammonia or co-firing of hydrogen. And this is the first point. The other good point is zero CO2 emission thermal power is dispatchable. So therefore, it covers the variable nature of renewable energy and provides various system services to ensure energy security. It means zero CO2 emission thermal power will help renewable energy increase. So those are reasons we prefer combination of renewable energy and zero CO2 emission thermal power generation. That's all.
Thank you. I think it's very much clarify the point that you raised in the the vision and the strategy toward net zero by JERA. Thank you very much indeed. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Then now I'd like to invite the next speaker, Hiroyuki Isano, Director of Board, Senior Executive Officer, OJ Holding Corporation. So the OJ Group, as you know, that over 140 years since its establishment, has been leading company in the pulp and the paper industry of Japan. So, President, I'm sorry, Mr. Isano, you have the floor, please.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Isano, and I would like to start our OJ Group's plans toward the sustainable society. First is the company profile, and OJ Group started its business in 1873, as Takamura-san just right now said. It is 150 years old almost right now. The net sales is 1.4 trillion Japanese yen, and we are the fourth largest pulp paper packaging company in the world. This is the long 150 years history, and the main products that we are producing are here, and carton boxes, tissue, toilet rolls, thermal paper, some value-added functional papers, pulp business, energy business, and traditional writing, printing, and newsprint papers. So now, what we were doing toward the sustainable society is this slide. This slide shows the fundamental business model that we were doing, and this is what we are doing from so many years ago. It is the recycling, reusing, regenerating our forest, processed water, and paper itself. Circulation of resources is what we were doing, and this is the quite critical for keeping this sustainable society. We have 550,000 hectares of OG forests worldwide, and 450,000 are the production forests. This forest absorbs carbon dioxide, 940,000 tons annually, and these forests have fixed 129 million carbon dioxide so far. And what is important for the sustainable forest management is this slide is showing. We are cutting the trees, but we are planting the trees. Those who use the trees have the responsibility to plant those trees. For this forest management, for example, thinning, this is cutting the trees, but this is important. It is important for sunlight penetration into the forest. It is important for enriching the lower level vegetation in the forest. And it is important for keeping healthy condition of the forest. Once we cut the trees, we will use all the parts of the trees. So now, what is the vision toward 2030 and 2050? We are targeting to reduce 70% of carbon dioxide by 2030, which is compared to year 2018. And by 2050, we are targeting net zero emission. How to do it is by the combination of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and the expansion of forest and increase net carbon dioxide absorption. We have been reducing the fossil fuel consumption, but still the coal consumption is 13%. We will change to the other sources, and the goal is 0% in 2050. So this is the summary toward 2030. We will continue to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We will continue and implement sustainable forest management. This forest management is not just for the decarbonization. This forest management is for the groundwater water recharging. And this forest management is for the biodiversity, which means it is for the species living in this world, and it is for the animals, and it is for the human beings. We wish and will bring this earth greener and hope our earth will be bluer. Thank you for your attention.
I thank you, Mr. Isano, for the wonderful presentation. I think the Ando-san have a couple of questions and comments.
Yeah, thank you for your talk. Certainly, a nature-based solution is one of the pillars here at COP26. We're talking about accelerating use of forest. You have a big forest, as you mentioned, but can you, what can you do to make even better use of this existing forest, and also can you expand your forest in the near future? Sure.
Yeah, sure. We are. The point is to for the current plantation itself, it is necessary to increase the amount of the annual growth per area per unit, so that we are working to increase the amount of growth by introducing the improved plant varieties and also the improved forest operations, such as planting methods, planting area, or the fertilization methods. And also, it is 550,000 hectares right now, but we are aiming to increase more. And to do that, we do have operations in Brazil, Oceania countries, Southeast East Asian countries, and also in Japan, so that we would like to increase the forest surrounding around those existing areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Isano. So now I'd like to invite the next speaker, Tokiya Takizawa, Regional Account Leader and the Asia Pacific Sustainability Leader, EY Japan. So Mr. Takizawa, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Takamura Sensei. I was there actually, and I wish I were there. I need to come back to Japan, so I envy you. I wish I attended this session over there, but from Tokyo. This is Takizawa of EY Japan, and thank you for inviting me to the session. We have been driving the carbon ambition initiative as a firm, and have achieved a carbon neutral in 2020 last year. So as a firm, as you can see, EY Japan has 4 service lines, namely assurance, tax, transactions, and consulting. So each one of them are working for carbon neutral services for clients. But we, as EY, started our own carbon initiatives ourselves. So after we achieved the carbon neutral in 2020, last year, we are still going on the initiative, and now we have achieved the carbon negative this year. So becoming carbon negative means the EY is now reducing its total emission than it emits. So our ambition is to become carbon net zero by 2025. We distinguish carbon neutral from net zero. Carbon neutral we achieved last year has been done basically by offsetting carbon we emitted. For net zero, on the other hand, according to the science-based calculation, we will reduce the absolute amount of the carbon emission by 40% before offset or removables to meet the 1.5 degree target by 2025. The latter is in line with the Paris Agreement, which requires such achievement by 2050. So it's 25 years earlier than that. So we have invested in carbon. Let me show you our. So this is the relationship between or among net zero, carbon negative, and carbon neutral. So this is what we are using in terms of the carbon-related terminologies. So we have invested in carbon offset portfolio with South Pole, which include multiple projects that offset or remove carbon reforestation or regenerative agriculture, biochar, and forest conservation. 6 new projects contribute to removing or offsetting a total of 500,000 tons of CO2, meaning EY is removing an additional 34% of our FY21 carbon footprint, which made us carbon negative this year. In addition to those initiatives, as I mentioned, we are providing services. So we would also like to contribute to this theme by supporting our clients who are facing challenges to proceed. So we established long-term value promotion office last year. In EY, we used long-term value in the same meaning as sustainability. As I mentioned, we have 4 different service lines: audit, tax, consulting, and M&A. So each service line had been providing services related to sustainability separately. But the client wanted to talk to us as one. So we established the office as a single point of contact. And then this year, we also established carbon neutral support office and also sustainability disclosure office underneath it. Because these 2 agendas are specifically emerging in these days. So in summary, we have been driving this challenging agenda from client perspective and our own perspective. By doing so, we would like to build a better working world. Thank you, Takamura-san.
So thank you, Takizawa-san, for the wonderful presentation. I'm always curious about why the EY is very much, aggressively committed to yourself, the net zero. And I think that you are maybe the first funder of the participating in the Net Zero Alliance as well. So could you please maybe explain a bit why you are so eager to, commit yourself to the net zero?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And it's a huge question, and I have multiple questions, answers. But if I pick one, then I say probably we do this because we have the purpose, the building a better working world. So we set it back in 2013. And since then, it seems almost like the concept or the meaning of this purpose are strongly related to sustainability. So driving sustainability agenda, including obviously the decarbonization, is almost equal to our purpose. So I'm pretty much proud of our purpose. I'm very happy. Feeling very happy in doing so. Thank you, Takamura-sensei.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. So now then I move on to the next speaker, Next speaker is Yasuhiko Ushikubo, our Senior Executive Officer, Global Head of Sustainable Business Solution at Mizuho Financial Group. So, Mr. Ushikubo, can you hear me? And you have a floor, please.
Hi. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Takamura-sensei?
Yes, clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Yasuhiko Ushikubo from Mizuho Financial Group, and I'm in charge of sustainability-related business promotion in Mizuho. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to share with you our view and the strategy toward net zero. Okay, to start with, please allow me to quickly introduce our group. Mizuho is one of the largest financial institutions globally, and as shown in the bottom of the slide, we are a group of entities capable of providing all the financial related service in one stop. One of our strengths is our extensive client base, as shown on the right-hand side. As a leading Japanese financial institution, we have a significant presence, especially in Japanese industry, covering more than 2/3 of listed Japanese companies. And our uniqueness lies in our non-financial capabilities, especially our industry insight and environmental technologies expertise. For instance, Mizuho Bank has an in-house industry research team with more than 100 sector analysts. And our group entity, Mizuho Research and Technologies, is a consultancy arm which has experts in environmental technologies. Over the years, our aim was always to support the sustainability of the industry by utilizing our capacity. And without any doubt, as of today, how we can contribute to industry's net zero is our biggest agenda. Transition to net zero is now the core part of the growth strategy for Japanese industry as a whole. Japanese government has announced Green Growth Strategy back in December last year, which demonstrates action plan for 14 growth areas in which Japan focuses to achieve net zero by 2050. Following the announcement, the biggest agenda for Japanese industry now, especially for the hard-to-abate sectors, is to establish long-term business plan in line with this new transition strategy. And as highlighted in red on the left-hand side, we understand that transition finance is expected to play an important role in Japan's new strategy. Naturally, our important mission today is to assist our client in establishing such a transition story and to support any necessary corporate actions. We understand that transition toward net zero is a fundamental change in industry structure. GHG and especially CO2 is now regarded as cost and liability. Industry needs to come up with a transition story to accommodate such change. As a result, business portfolio will be reorganized through investment and divestment. To make such transition story real, transition finance is essential. As a leading Japanese financial institution, we are committed to support industry's transition through transition finance. Furthermore, we believe that we could support the industries throughout the whole process of establishing transition story. Our focus is to support our client in transition by providing competitive products and services for both sides of our client's balance sheet. In doing so, our industry analysts, environmental experts, and corporate strategists are our edge at the non-financial side. And our capacity as a financial provider or arranger, underpinned by our extensive network and experience, is our foundation at the financial side. The greater attention to net zero is an irreversible structural change and acts as a significant business challenge for industry, including us. Needless to say, contribution to net zero by 2050 is a core part of our strategy, and we are committed to contribute to its achievement by supporting industries in creating their transition story. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Ushikubo-san. So I think Ando-san has a quick question to the Ushikubo-san probably.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. The financing is always the key to accelerate better transition. Here again, we are talking about speeding it up further to meet Paris goal. So is there still any obstacles or issues to do that? Maybe it could be in terms of regulation, it could be in terms of policy, it could be in the business strategies. Can you give us obstacles, and maybe if you have solutions already, it'll be nice.
Thank you very much for Ando-san's question. Key consideration in making transition story is obviously how compelling the story is. So evidence science-based target to be benchmarked is essential. In Japan's case, government is trying to formulate sector-specific roadmaps to be used as a benchmark for transition finance. So I think these roadmaps will be a key driver going forward. In addition, in ASEAN, Asia Energy Transition Initiative, which is a joint effort by ASEAN countries and Japan, has announced cooperation in establishing energy transition roadmaps, or Asian version of transition finance framework. And I'm hoping this kind of attempt will become a driver for transition activity, including transition finance in Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I think that how we could make our transition successful, not only in Japan, and also in Asian countries. I think I see the enormous contribution expected to the Mizuho Financial Group. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So now we go to the last speaker in the first part. It's not, of course, it's not least. Wataru Hamamoto, Managing Director, Senior Executive Managing Officer, Mitsui Fudosan Corporation. So unfortunately, he is not able to attend the event on live, but he kindly accepted to provide a video statement to the event. So that would you please start the video message now? Thank you.
I am Hamamoto from Mitsui Fudosan. Let me take you through the group's decarbonization initiatives. The history of the group starts with the opening of Echigoya clothing store in Nihonbashi by Takatoshi Mitsui, founder of the House of Mitsui, in 1673. Important events since then include the construction of the Mitsui main building as a reconstruction project after the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923. It was a forerunner in buildings with seismic intensity. The construction of Kasumigaseki Building, the first skyscraper in Japan. The concept of the development was for the building to create a relaxing and vibrant plaza in the densely built-up center of Tokyo. Tokyo Midtown Roppongi was a successful community development case in which rich greenery was created in an urban setting. The group has addressed societal challenges over the years. Philosophy of Mitsui Fudosan Group, kept, maintained, and acted upon over the years since its founding, has been summarized into a group statement and group vision in 1999. The group statement reads, bringing affluence and comfort to urban living, and the vision calls for seeking to link diverse values, coexist in harmony with society, and achieve a sustainable society. We believe that realizing a decarbonized society is the most crucial challenge for the society going forward. Based on this recognition, the group has joined international initiatives on climate change that you see on the slide and committed to realizing a decarbonized society. Our target and KPI is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by fiscal year 2030 and achieve net zero by fiscal year 2050. To contribute to achieving the 1.5-degree target, we are considering more ambitious targets. Let me share with you some specific initiatives. The group has signed a comprehensive agreement with TEPCO on green power procurement. The plan is to purchase green electricity across all facilities owned by the company in the metropolitan area and supply to tenants of facilities owned and managed by the company by fiscal year 2030. The company is promoting net zero energy buildings and net zero energy house to ensure energy efficiency and energy creation is thoroughly promoted across the facilities we build to reduce GHG emissions during operation. This will be rolled out to Mitsui Fudosan Logistics Park, Ebina 1, aiming to achieve 100% net zero, as well as office buildings, residential housing, and condominiums. The method of cutting GHG emissions at the time of construction involves wider use of wooden architecture. Compared to steel or reinforced concrete, GHG emissions can be reduced significantly. Refining architecture, which is a construction method used to revitalize aging reinforced concrete properties, is able to cut GHG by 70% compared to new builds. GHG reduction through forest carbon sink is another area we are working on. 5,000 hectares of forest in Hokkaido owned by the company is certified by SGEC and practices sustainable forestry. This forest absorbs 17,000 tons of CO2 a year. Lastly but not least, regarding GHG emissions based on SBT, only 12% are Scope 1 and 2 or emissions from group operations. The remaining 88% is Scope 3, emissions from the supply chain. By collaborating with a wide array of suppliers such as tenants, purchasers, construction companies, material manufacturers, among others, we will strive to reduce GHG emissions across the entire supply chain. This concludes my brief summary of Mitsui Fudosan Group's initiatives towards decarbonization. We continue to aspire to build a society that enriches both people and the planet. Thank you for your kind attention.
So, thank you, Hamamoto-san, wonderful presentation. So it's with that we are closing the first part of this event. So in order to change the scene for the second part, could you please wait 1 minute to do so? So now we go to the second part of the event in a minute. So Ando-san, thank you very much for being moderator. Can you hear me? Is that okay? So now we are moved on to the second part of this event. We have 4 speakers here in the event. First speaker is now on the screen. You know that the Hiroko Urashima, Manager Climate Change Solution Team and Corporate Planning Department, Mitsui Sumitomo Insurance Corporation, and manager, and as well as she is a manager, Sustainable Section and Corporate Planning Department, MS&AD Insurance Group Holdings. So, Urashima-san, very welcome to the session. So the next, you know, the panelist is that the Maeda-san maybe is waiting. Okay, so the Maeda-san is I think you might be quite familiar with the people here. Yudai Maeda-san is after FIT. He is, the chief officer of the communication of after FIT. So, Maeda-san, you are welcome to the session. So the third speaker is that on place and Sugano-san from the Asset Management One CEO. So could you please maybe brief introduction to the audience, if you allow me?
Thank you, Takamura-san. I'm Akira Sugano, President and CEO of Asset Management One, which is one of the largest asset manager in Asia. The reason why I'm here may be that we signed up for the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative last December. So I would like to talk about that later, more in detail.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm quite eager to listen to this history story. So, that last not least, and we have lady here, the chief editor-in-chief of the Nikkei ESG monthly journal. So the Baba-san and Miki Baba is here. So.
Thank you, Takamura-sensei. My name is Miki Baba, the editor-in-chief of Nikkei ESG Japanese magazine. Today, in this COP26 venue, I feel very assumed to hear from many Japanese companies making very good, ambitious efforts for decarbonization. So yes, and I will enjoying the talk session.
Thank you for coming to join us. So now then I'd like to invite Urashima-san to make a brief statement and presentation. So Urashima-san, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you, Takamura-sensei. Hello everyone in Glasgow and all of you attending online. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm very honored to be a part of this event. I'm Hiroko Urashima from Mitsui Sumitomo Insurance, one of the leading non-life insurance companies in Japan and part of MS&AD Holdings, one of the largest non-life insurance groups in the world. I have been engaged in the sustainability field, especially in climate change, for more than 10 years. So as a non-life insurance company, we recognize the seriousness of this climate crisis. For the past couple of years, we have experienced severe weather events such as wildfires, hurricanes, and floods. The Japanese insurance industry alone has made more than 1 trillion yen of insurance payments for the natural disasters in 2018 and 2019. There is no doubt that the failure in the transition to a net zero economy will result in a less stability of our industry. Under this recognition, this year, the MS&AD Group has set a goal for net zero of carbon emissions by 2050. And Mitsui Sumitomo Insurance has newly formed a climate change solution team and 6 cross-cutting task forces to take lead on climate change solutions through our businesses. For example, a non-life insurer is a company that provides risk solution to companies and organizations in various industries. We work closely together with many businesses, and our task force will provide our clients with a variety of solutions for their transition. For example, we have launched a carbon neutral support clause that covers not only the cost of recovery, but also the additional cost of new equipment to reduce CO2 emissions. And apart from our main businesses, in October, we have invested in renewable energy power business in Miyagi Prefecture, which was severely affected by the Great East Japan earthquake. We are expecting the local government to take an important role to promote the expansion of renewable energy in Japan, which also leads to local revitalization. We are expecting to gain hands-on knowledge of risk solution measures to support stable renewable energy business. And again, it is our mission as a non-life insurer to be a risk solution partner and support decarbonization and sustainable development in the rural community, which is also key to the transition to net zero society. It is also conceivable that our company can act as an intermediary to connect clients' climate change mitigation solutions to other clients. Because of our relationship with many companies and organizations, together we can take the journey towards a net zero economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I think insurance company is on the one part is of course the underwriting insurance, but at the same time, the insurance company is a very big institutional investors. So that I think we expect the net zero effort to net zero quite contribute to our society decarbonization. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to invite Maeda-san after Fit and CCO. So you have the floor, please, Maeda-san.
Thank you, Professor Takamura, and good morning, distinguished guests. To begin with, I would like to briefly introduce myself. My name is Yudai Maeda, and today I'm representing AfterFit, a renewable energy company, and making this remark as the Chief Communication Officer of the company. AfterFit is a very young company, so this is the first time for our company to participate in COP. But COP is very familiar to me because I used to engage in climate change negotiations as a diplomat. So first, let me view Japan's situation from bird's eye view. If I admit frankly, Japan's peak of climate change diplomacy was at the time of Kyoto Protocol. Back then, Japan was still a flag person for climate control. However, Japan suffered for long. Japan's economy stayed stagnant, and as a result, Japan was left behind in climate change strategy. Japan couldn't afford to lead the world in the field of climate change, and it ended up with being a flag person for exporting coal-fired thermal power plants. It's very ironic. But rainy days never stay. People tend to overlook the slight sign of the news story, but a turnaround has finally come to Japan. 2050 carbon neutral declaration prompts Japanese players to change for the first time. Yes, for the first time. It is not that strong, but is a faithful indication. But we need to foster the change. In Japan, people think it is the government's role to draw a roadmap toward carbon neutral. The government, on the other hand, tends to view things as a continuation of the past. However, it will be difficult to even achieve 46% reduction of GHG emissions, let alone carbon neutrality, if the government views things that way, because decarbonization is unprecedented change for Japan. For that reason, leadership shown by the government is certainly not sufficient. Japan wouldn't be able to reach carbon neutral if it remains unchanged. We need to change. Technically speaking, there are various options such as installation of renewable energy, carbon recycling, storage batteries, and hydrogen. It sounds nice if Japan is to draw on all of them, but who and how to achieve it is the question. Something is missing. Having said that, I would like to reiterate that we could see the sign of a change in 2021. People's mindset has finally started to change, and we now see an actual movement taking place. As evidence, Japanese companies gather here and showing its presence under the vision of carbon neutrality. And it is the climate action by each player that I mentioned what was missing in Japan. If we saw the light, we can just make an effort to grow it. If we take climate actions for whatever reason, there will be gaps between the ideal and the real. It is just because we haven't taken such actions before. If we cannot fill in the gaps, the light will be gone. Japan is apt to give up on gaps. Therefore, in order to realize carbon neutrality, it is important to close the gaps in solutions which each player looks for, and in knowledge, it is necessary to fill in the gaps in details and in a very careful manner. Our company, Afterfit, is a company which plays that role. Renewable energy generation and provision, supporting clients' decarbonization through consultations. Afterfit has various selections of carbon neutrality on the menu, and it fills the gaps. It is our business and responsibility to carry out. Our scope might be limited to decarbonization, but as long as it is about decarbonization, we have the solutions. Accumulation of filling in the gaps brings distinctive changes in each player, and it will end up with a huge wave. Once such a wave is created, Japan is very strong. And when such a wave is made, I'll be able to tell you without any hesitations, Japan is back. I thank you for listening.
So thank you, Maeda-san. I think as usual, you had a very strong and encouraging message to the audience, and especially to the people working in the business sector. Thank you very much indeed. So now I'd like to invite Sugano-san. I see that asset management one is always leading company to do the promoting the net zero vision and for the society. So for instance, the net zero asset manager initiatives, you participated in this initiative as one of the founding and advisory board member. So you already fixed a midterm target, and also they do a lot of activity so far. Could you please tell us, what action you have already taken so far, and also what action are you going to plan, and also the challenge you are facing? So, Sugano-san, if you have comment on that, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. And before moving into what we are doing to achieve net zero, I'd like to just briefly explain about what is Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative. Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative was launched last December with initially 30 global asset managers, including ourselves. And now it grew to with more than 220 asset managers. And also Sumitomo, Mitsui Trust Asset, Nomura Asset, and Mitsubishi, and Nikko Asset. So most of the large asset managers in Japan have joined Asset Managers, Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative. So it's going to be kind of driving force for Japan's net zero race or drive. And the things which we are doing to achieve net zero are threefold. The first one is to introduce a new product which is aligned with net zero. So in both passive and active asset management, maybe it's a little bit technical term, but active means picking stocks which is going to perform well compared to the benchmark. So we select those companies which we think that they can increase enterprise value while achieving the net zero objectives. So we compose our active portfolios with those companies. So it means that the portfolio companies can produce net zero scenario. In passive areas, we introduce decarbonization aligned indices, and also transition aligned indices. Transition index is a new idea which consists of a wider range of issues, listed companies, which contains both advanced companies. Advanced means in terms of net zero, movement, and also those lagging behind in terms of achieving net zero. So we engage with those lagging companies to bring up their level of adaptation to net zero, so that we are not bringing a few companies aligned with net zero, but also kind of bringing the bottom of the universe toward net zero. So that is a concept of transition indices. That is the first part, and that is the second part. Yeah. The third part is to engage with not with the investee companies, but also with governments and industrial groups, and also fellow asset managers. Government, why government? Because without trustful data and mandatory disclosure of data which is related to carbon decarbonization, you cannot analyze the company whether they are moving toward that net zero. So that data set is quite important, imperative, I should say. And also, I would like to say that globally harmonized introduction of carbon pricing is also important. Globally harmonized is quite important because nowadays we have carbon pricing in each country, which is not harmonized at all. So it means that you need to adjust those carbon pricing in order to be fair in achieving net zero. So I would ask Japanese government to take a lead in making globally harmonized carbon pricing. And carbon pricing is in turn is quite necessary for us to analyze the capital cost of companies, because now those carbon cost is externalized. It's not internalized into capital cost. So we need to internalize those externalized costs back into capital costs so that we can analyze the company's real value clearly. So those things which we are working on. So we are in the middle of the investment chain, and on our back there is asset owners like public and private pension funds, financial institutions, and also retail investors. And on the investment chain before us, there is an investee company. So we need to engage with both sides, and coordinate the move toward net zero. So that's what we are doing right now.
That's really, interesting because over this investment chain, you are some kind of catalyst to connect the investors and also the company to be invested in. So I thank you very much for your comment. So I'm sorry that the planned time schedule is somehow passed, but still I like to invite the Miss Baba to make comment and to question to three panelists, and hopefully the three panelists of each try to respond to the comment and the question by the Baba-san, and also they send the last message to the audience as well. So the Baba-san, you have the floor to make a comment and question.
Yes, thank you, Takamura Sensei. We have a very short time, so that I speak quickly. And first, listening to Urashima-san from Mitsui Sumitomo Insurance, I find the new insurance product called as maybe as a support contract for carbon neutral to be especially and innovative and so special, I think. And so I'm very interested in whether the number of contract is increasing now and in short time and in mid time. So Urashima-san, how do you promote this a new insurance product, and how do you promote and increase of the number of contracts? How do you think about?
So you are talking about the marketing or the how we expand our sales for new innovative products, I suppose. And from this year, we had a very strong commitment and from the president, which we should tackle on net zero economy. And this commitment was very strong. It was very influenced many of our employees, and we are very promoted in our company to do that kind of sales activity to our clients. So I think these kind of inner communication is very important, and we are very influenced in that kind of task to provide many solutions to our clients. So I think that expands our sales. So it's about educating our employees, and also it's about expanding our sales, and it's that really leads to the net zero economy. So I think it means a very important activity. Yes. I hope I answered your answers right.
Yes, thank you very much, Rashima-san. Thank you. And the speech by Maeda-san from AfterFit was also full of suggestions for larger changes. So as Maeda-san pointed out, I also think that last year and in this year, Japan began to show the clear signs of ambitious transition to the decarbonization society. I think that the efforts of Japanese companies such as carbon reductions and technology innovations are being even more actively promoted. So I believe the business of AfterFit, like a develop project of renewable energy, greatly encourage Japanese companies' climate actions. I hope such so. Thank you for Maeda-san. Please give me some comments for us.
Yes, that is true. We now see the actual movement toward decarbonization. That's finally happening in Japan, and I'm very encouraged by that. But in order to achieve the carbon neutral by 2050, we have to increase the amount of installation of renewable energy, and that's, I think, our role to provide. So. And also, as I mentioned in the speech, there's a knowledge gap in the private company sector, because most of the company haven't taken action for the decarbonization, so they don't know what to do. So I think filling the knowledge gap is also important, and I think that's where we can contribute in that field. So well. I think the future is bright for Japan. Finally, we see the sign to make the movement real. We will do our best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maeda-san. Thank you. And finally, I heard from Sugano-san from Asset Management One. Thank you very much. And I also think Asset Management One is one of the leader of the Japanese financial sector in ESG and investment. And Sugano-san, I had opportunities to interview with the fund managers of Asset Management One or managers of ESG investment of your companies. So before. So I was impressed. They carefully engage to the investee companies and generously communicate the necessity of climate action or transition to the investee companies. So I always think what is the unique point of the ESG investment of asset management one and transition engagement? What is the unique point? And I also need and want to know Japan, especially industry, it is not easy to understand the carbon pricing. So how do you tell the necessity of carbon pricing for Japanese industry? How do you think?
I thank you for your kind comment about our ESG analyst. I have here one of them, and who has been quite active in engaging with investee companies. We have been doing that more than, say, 6 years since the 2015 with the signing of PRI and those sustainability issues. And we have been working with GPIF, which is one of the largest asset owner in the world, and under the previous CIO, Mr. Mizuno, they have been quite progressed. And together with GPIF, we have enhanced our ESG capabilities a lot because we have a mandate from GPIF in Japanese equities, passive investment, such a large amount. So I think kind of partnership with GPIF made us to make a progress in terms of ESG engagement activities. And the second,
how do you tell the necessity of carbon pricing? Yes.
That's a difficult question because some CO2 emitting companies, especially in, can I say, steel, they are against carbon pricing. But if they continue to reject or resist toward the carbon pricing introduction, there will be, I don't think there is a future for them because globally, carbon pricing is going to be introduced, and you need to prepare for that world. So I usually took the example of the oil shock back in 1970s. When oil shock happened and oil prices skyrocketed, Japanese companies somehow managed to overcome that adverse impact by utilizing their technological innovations and reducing usage of oils. So now I call it carbon shock. So they could, with their technologies, they could overcome that carbon shock. So I would like to say to those industries that don't be passive, but proactive to overcome the shock. So that's my message.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for the four panelists today, and I think the whole side event today is show that how much the Japanese company is now willing to be a part of global effort to tackle climate change. Also, of course, they have challenges, but they really wish to be a solution for that. I think which I think lead to a business opportunity, not only the risk. So the two parts of this event show clearly this, the willingness and determination. So again, thank you very much, the audience, to keep watching this side event. You know that this is the internet status is not easy because we have now the 40,000 people surrounding here the premises of COP, but still thank you very much indeed, the audience and also panelists and the interpreter as well. So with that, I like to close this side event. Thank you very much, Secretariat as well. Thank you.